This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to lockdown coverage, week number 13 in the National Football League. Denver Broncos at the Miami Dolphins. Not going to lie to you, didn't care much for this football game going into it, and watching it, I left feeling the same way I went going into the game. I don't give a damn. The Dolphins, that Dolphin shit. And I get it. It was the Denver Broncos, and they stink. They're one of the worst teams in the league this year, and never would have thought in a million years the Broncos would be one of the worst teams in the league because of their defense. But even their defense doesn't give a damn anymore. And they tried in this game, believe it or not. 35-9 doesn't seem like you gave a damn and that you tried. But if you watch the game, the defense gave it a run. But their offense is so bad. They're so anemic. And then it spreads like a disease to the defense, and then after a while they stop giving a damn, and then they start getting gassed, and it's just bad all around for the Broncos. And for the Dolphins, as good as they played in this game, they're still the Dolphins. They still do things that remind you that they're the Dolphins. I'll give you an example. They pick off Trevor Siemian for the first time in the game, and they would ultimately pick him off again and run it for a touchdown. A great play by their young corner that I love. I think he's going to be really good. He's got his growing pains. There are times he gets beat or gets called for PI. But I think that young Baylor corner, he's going to be something. I really like his game. I've said it before. I've talked about how I think he's going to continue to develop. And Xavier Howard, eventually, the light bulb's going to come on for him, and he's going to become a really good corner for them. That being said, they pick off Trevor Siemian the first time in the game, and like 2 plays later, Jay Cutler gives it right back. And I'm like, really? What are you doing, man? Like, come on, bruh. And so many things that happened. I think there was at one point, like, the Broncos fumbled the ball, or they threw an interception or something, and then the Dolphins got the ball stripped away from them. Like, just dumb stuff like that where I'm just like, what are you guys doing? And I might have my games mixed up because this one was hard to watch. But I just, you pick out certain guys to watch and to chart certain guys' improvement when it's 2 teams that aren't playing for much. And I look at Kenyon Drake on the offensive side of the football for the Dolphins, a guy that I really like coming out of Alabama. And my question for him was, can you be the guy? You were never the guy at Alabama. You've never been the guy in Miami in your 2 years. You've always shared the load. You're more of a third down back type of guy. At least that's what you've been put in the box as. And when they traded away Jay Ajayi, it was basically you and Damian Williams. And I felt like, okay, so they're going to use you on first and maybe second downs, and Damian Williams will get a lot of the third down reps because they love his ability to catch it out of the backfield, and they love his pass protection and things of that nature. So Kenyon Drake will still be reduced to a limited role. And then Damian Williams goes down with the shoulder injury, the collarbone injury against the Patriots last week. And I'm looking around at who else you got at running back. So it was the Kenyon Drake show in this game, and I thought he handled himself well. Went over 100 yards rushing, made some big runs, was physical in between the tackles, which a lot of people question, could he do? We knew about the speed and his ability to hit it on the outside. Could he be physical, patient enough inside and in between the tackles? And I thought he was that. And one of his biggest runs of the game was patience in the tackle, in between the tackles, patience to the hole, explode through the hole. And then he ended up off to the races for a touchdown. So thought he was outstanding. And the guy on defense that I was looking at was Xavier Howard, and he had the pick 6. And I think he's going to continue to grow and blossom as a really good corner in this league. And so the Dolphins, they jumped all over a really bad Broncos football team. And if not for a pick 6, they probably don't score any touchdowns in this game to the Denver Broncos. They stink. The Dolphins aren't good themselves. I'm not going to fall into the trap. I just hate the fact that every time I think I know who the Dolphins are, they appear and it's that Dolphin shit. You know, thought they were going to go home, lay an egg. Cutler was going to stink, and he did through 2 picks, but they dominated the Broncos, and they're a bad football team on the Denver Broncos. They're among the worst in this league, and Vance Joseph might get fired, which is crazy because the quarterback position is so bad, but John Elway told him to his face, your team is soft. Like, that's not good when you're a coach, and you're a defensive football team. And when your coach comes to you and says, hey, your defense, your team is soft. How do you take that? Like he said, I felt disrespected. But he said he was right. What? If they don't win another game this year, and it's very possible, if they don't win another, he might get fired. I mean, they were 3-1. They were 3-1. They're 3-9 now. 8 straight losses. If they don't win another game, it'll be 11 straight losses. 12 to finish out the season. He might get fired, man. Last dude I seen lose this many games in a row got fired. His name, Raheem Morris, in Tampa Bay. And it was in year 2. I don't know. It's bad in Denver. Trevor Siemian stinks. And I used to think Trevor Siemian could start in this league. And you know what it is? His skill set hasn't changed. He's lacking confidence now. You can tell he's a guy that doesn't believe in his own abilities anymore. It's tough to watch. That whole Denver Broncos team, Medusa, hard to watch. Broncos get dominated on the road by the Miami Dolphins, who improved to 5-7 on the season with a 35-9 ass thrashing of the Broncos. For once, the Dolphins are on the right side of an ass whooping. Their ass isn't red this time. The Broncos' ass is. Good for the Miami Dolphins. But they'll probably get embarrassed again next week on primetime television again, this time by the New England Patriots. Broncos, man, are they bad. It could get worse. They could see their coach get fired. I don't know. It's bad. In any event, Brandon Sullivan says, I was disgusted by the Broncos team after this game. Never thought they would be this shit. He says, Trevor is supposed to be a captain playing like Charlie Whitehurst out there. Boy, is Trevor Siemian playing bad. And like I said, he's just lacking confidence so severely right now. It's not even funny. Brandon Sullivan says, I almost wanted to not pick a team. I hated both teams so much for letdowns this year. Me too. This was one of the final games that I circled on my slate of games. I left that one for the end, and then I mulled over it for like 5 minutes and still picked the wrong goddamn team. So I feel your pain, B. Sully. Ed says, Broncos stink. They're getting blown out, put by mostly every team. It was a great win by my Dolphins, but we need to fix our mistakes, though. That Julius Thomas touchdown was cringe-worthy, LOL. Julius Thomas is... That guy, man, it seems like every year I see him, he gets bigger and bigger. He looks so far removed from the athletic freak that was tearing teams apart with Peyton Manning at quarterback for Denver. It's not even funny, man. Seemed like he got paid in Jacksonville, and he used every single cent of the money he made to eat. And he's no longer the athlete that he was before. Brandon Sullivan says, Vance is gone. This team should not have lost 8 games in a row. I also thought Trevor could be a starter. Same, this was my second to last game I picked. I hope Vance doesn't get fired. I think he deserves another shot. But if they don't win another game, he is getting fired. And his fate may already be sealed. John Elway might have already made up his mind, and Vance Joseph might already have been terminated in John Elway's mind. So it doesn't look good for Vance Joseph. And he looks lost on the sidelines. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie. So, in any event, that's going to do it for Broncos and Dolphins. Dolphins dominate this football game. And it was good to see them score some points, make some plays on offense. Like I've said this so many times about the Dolphins, which is probably why I get so passionate when I talk about the Dolphins. They're such a talented football team. They have no business being this bad. And maybe if Ryan Tannehill was their quarterback, they wouldn't be this bad. But they're too talented to stink. And so they should be able to do this to teams not named Denver. But the problem is they're not good enough because they make too many mistakes. And so it was good to see them play against a team that made more mistakes because they made mistakes in this game. Believe it or not, the Dolphins made mistakes and still scored 35 because the Broncos are that bad. And they made more mistakes than the Miami Dolphins did in this game, which is hard to do, but they did it. Dolphins go to 5-7. Broncos drop to 3-9. And boy, it might get a lot worse before it gets any better for the Denver Broncos this season as the Dolphins destroy them 35-7 and improve to 5-7. Or 35-9, excuse me, and improve to 5-7 on the season. That's going to do it for this game. I've got many more to break down, including Niners and Bears next. That was a good football game between two young quarterbacks, and wouldn't you know it, I'll explain when I get there. I got a story to tell. I'll see you in a second. Niners, Bears, don't go anywhere.